sofrito. So red onions, carrots, celery, they're filled with lots and lots of sugar. They're also filled with a lot of water. So the idea is to fry this and have the water go away and have the sugars concentrate. And the sugars in here act like sugar that you're, white sugar, and this is like caramel. So you can take it to a very light stage, you can take it every stage in between until it gets really, really dark and caramelized and rich. And depending on what time of year or what kind of season you're in, it will dictate, how far along you're going to take this. So if it's the dead of winter on a really cold day, you're making a, wild boar ragu, you're going to cook this sofrito until it's really, really dark for that big depth of flavor that you want in the winter months. If it's summertime and you're in Viareggio, you're going to use fennel instead of the carrot, and you're going to just do it until light blonde, and you're going to put seafood in it, and you're going to make cachuco, which is a classic fish stew. But I guess the point is that it's the starting point for a lot of dishes, and you'll see it in the book. We use it a lot. So we're gonna let this just sit here and cook. You kind of want to fry it at a high heat. You don't want the water to come out and sit at the bottom of the pan, because then it boils. And there's a huge difference between having these vegetables boil and having them evaporate the water quickly and concentrating quickly. That is a very big difference, and it really, really matters. So you got it. It's not too crowded. It's spread out. It's frying at a pretty good temperature. All this steam you see is water, so that we're gonna let that. I put some rosemary, sage, tomato paste, and a few pieces of garlic in there. And you'll see how this is incorporated into the rabbit stew later. So we're gonna do. I'm going to show you what I did to these chicken breasts and kind of the thought behind it. So this is one of their knives, and I was speaking about, the CEO was here earlier, and he was telling me that they went to Japan, and the Japanese really helped them in the design of these knives. And it's kind of funny because a lot of chefs love Japanese knives because they're designed very well, and I was kind of intrigued to hear that that's where they went to help with the design of their knives. So typically, this boning knife, this is an American-shaped boning knife, and all the Wusthoffs that I've seen and a lot of the American maids, they're a lot shorter, and they added like an extra 2 inches of length to this knife. It's also very thin, which makes it a lot more pliable and bendable, which is really a good thing when it comes to boning out a leg of lamb or whatever it is you're going to use this knife for, the boning of it. So I thought I was kind of impressed by the fact that somebody in that R&D department thought it was a good idea to lengthen this thing, and I stand behind that wholeheartedly. It makes a difference. So we're going to take the bottom third of this off, and you're going to cut it in and not go all the way through so that you butterfly it. And then don't worry about the cross-contamination, guys. It's all going to get cooked. So being that this is so thick, this is off of a very large bird. So instead of butterflying this, we're just going to slice it into thirds. And then we're going to pound it like a paillard. I trademarked this name, Flavor Pounded Chicken, because everybody's obsessed with boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and every time you go to do a Today Show or whatever, they're like, why don't you give me some ideas? And I'll give them ideas, and they're like, no, we can't do that. Like, that's not common enough, and no, you can't do that. So the last time the Today Show called, I was trying to think of like, what can I tell them that there's no way that they would say, no, we can't do that. So I was like, they called me and they said, why don't you give us a few ideas? And I was like, how about boneless, skinless chicken breasts? And they were like, that's great. That's great. We love it. So it was kind of, this concept was kind of like brought to me through trying to think of something that the producers at the Today Show would not poo-poo. And it kind of led to, now I'm in talks with somebody to try to get this, frozen packaged organic chicken breast that's flavored, and how you can go across, the globe, right? So I have here a Japanese-inspired one that has ginger powder, sesame, and seaweed. I have an Italian-American one that has garlic powder, oregano, and tomato powder. We're going to do an Indian-inspired one with curry, turmeric, and onion powder. And you know, it's kind of limitless, all the things that you can do. And the way I envision it is you sprinkle it with a flavoring, and then you use the tines of a pounder to pound the flavorings into the breast, and then you shrink wrap this thing and you freeze it, and you put it in like a pizza for one pizza box, and it's flavor pounded chicken, from all over the world. And the preparation for you at home is you take it out of the freezer in the morning, you come home, you heat up this thing, and you sear it a minute on each side, and you have a very healthy, a very tasteful, tasty. It kind of makes it look larger than it is. So that's flavor pounded chicken. But to the point, so they sent me this entire line of stuff, and the thing that struck me the most was this little griddle pan, because I haven't seen, All Clad doesn't make one. I felt like it was a really unique product. Cooking a la plancha is something that's been kind of big lately. There's been a lot of talk of Spanish food, and cooking on a flat surface like this, a griddle. The obvious things are pancakes and fried eggs and stuff like that, but you could also cook pieces of fish on there really well. You could roast a steak on top the whole time really well, and it works perfectly for some kind of thin saute that you want to do, like we're going to do with this. Where's my salt
and I'll just mention while Marco's doing that you notice that it's on the heat, but he picked it up by the metal handle. The handles on all of these stay cool. And then the handles on the lids here are also cool, but they also are high, so you don't burn your knuckles. Are they oven safe? Not that I've ever done.
Yes, they're oven safe.
They're oven safe?
Yep.
Yes.
So the two biggest things that I see home cooks struggle with is that they don't understand heat and they don't understand seasoning. Sometimes you want to get the pan really smoking hot before you add stuff, and other times you don't. And to know when you want to and when you don't want to, and to know when you want to turn up the heat or when you want to lower the heat, that's one of the things that people, I think, really struggle with at home. And the other thing is understanding the amount of salt that things really need to be tasty. And so many people say to me, oh, I made it, but I don't know why I can't make it taste the way you make it taste at the restaurant. And the really simple answer to that is because they're afraid to use salt. And I will show you how much salt I would put on this thing. And it would be that much on that side. And it would be that much on that side. And I know you're all going like, oh my God, that's so much salt. But I will tell you that if you eat a bag of potato chips or ever had a can of low sodium whatever, that there's like 20 million times more salt than what you just saw here. So, don't be be a little bit more generous with your seasoning at home, and I think you're going to find that things are going to taste a lot better. Salt is a natural ingredient that is imperative to everything we do in the kitchen.
I have a question about the grilled pan.
Yep.
And because this is something I can't get right at home either. But how do you know when it's hot enough?
Okay, good. That's a good one.
How do you know?
So a few things. When you put cold oil onto a really hot pan, it shimmers and it moves across the pan very quickly. If you glide your oil across the pan and it's not moving fast, and it's not like more water rather than thick oil, that's a sign it's not hot enough. So the thinner and the faster the oil moves on the pan is an indication of how hot your pan is. Also, smoke point. As soon as you see wisps of smoke coming off, that's one of the directives that you'll read in my book often. When the oil begins to give off a little bit of smoke. I mean, you don't want it, if you add oil and that thing smokes like crazy, it's too hot and you scorch the oil and it's going to give a bad taste to it. So, my advice is put the oil in the pan, put the burner on, and then wait for that first wisp of oil, and then it's really hot. The other thing about chicken breast that I wanted to talk about, a lot of people, they cook the whole chicken breast and they put it in the pan and they get brown on each side and then it's still raw in the center, so it's got to sit there and cook, and then when you eat it, it's like eating a cotton ball, right? It's like super gross, dry, and that's why boneless, skinless chicken breast has a bad rap. But if you expose and create a lot of surface area, then it's an opportunity for flavor. It's an opportunity for salt, pepper, and whatever flavor you want. And the ratio of the exterior to the interior is 1 to your advantage because it's going to add flavor. So, you know, these are almost cooked through right now. And this here, you see how brown that is? That's really what you want.